Camera. Hello, 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 everybody. How are we all doing? This is the Brass Ringers podcast, mixing it up a little bit today. Today, we are talking NXT Takeover, because it is Wrestlemania week. I am joined today by Dan Morgan. Dan, how are you, sir?
I am fine. How are you?
I am tired. I am 2 nights into not sleeping properly, and I am tired, sir. I'm feeling a little bit
You see,
broken.
I haven't done the stay up and watch it yet.
Coward.
I've every time I've watched it next day. Well, I'm thinking of doing it for WrestleMania, but I think those days might be behind me. I'll enjoy it more if I watch it the next day.
I feel like this is all preparation for the year that I eventually end up going to a live WrestleMania. You know, I don't want to be getting there and being like, do you know what? I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired right now. I want to go in feeling excited, feeling ready to rock.
Well, so you're you're going to adjust your sleep pattern starting from now.
I want my body to know that every April, I'm messing with it. At the start of every April, I'm just messing with it. And I want my body to get to the point where it's like, it's April.
Wow.
We're ready to mess with him.
I'm not sure that that's how body clocks work.
What?
I don't think they remember the yearly cycle.
Get out of town.
But I mean, give it a go. You know, the human body is an amazing thing, so you never know.
You are not wrong there. So it is WrestleMania week. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. I've just lost my mouse somehow. There it is. Found it again. It does this weird thing when my mouse disappears sometimes. Don't know why that happens. So it is WrestleMania week, which is very exciting. Have you caught up on anything else this week so far, or just the NXT content?
Just NXT.
Just NXT.
I think, yeah.
Well, I've seen a little bit of. I've seen the highlights of Raw, the Go Home show. I saw a very expensive car get graffitied by The Miz and John Morrison, which seemed to be the highlight of the show. I've watched one of the Hall of Fames. It's weird and awkward without a crowd there, which is surprising. I thought they were weird and awkward anyway, but it's awkwarder. The good thing is all the speeches are a lot shorter, so it's a lot quicker to get through anything. I just really like the hype packages at the start, where it goes over like the career of said wrestler. So I'm going to watch the other one as well. I'm going to check out SmackDown because it's got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how far that's fallen.
Been relegated to SmackDown.
Yeah, not even the pre-show. I don't even know if they're going to have a pre-show this year. It's all very, very strange feeling. And speaking of strange feeling, NXT Takeover, it's the first Takeover split over 2 days. How did you find that experience?
The fact that it was split over 2 days.
Yes.
I mean, I think it was fine. Yeah, I mean, it was quite exciting, really, that you just sort of get. I sort of looked at it as, especially the way the NXT card is structured, is you get 2 pay-per-views for the price of one. You know, they both looked like takeover-worthy cards, mostly. So, I thought it was fine. I think it's nice. You know, I like engorging on wrestling at this time of year. So you know, the fact that it's just like you get 2 pay-per-views in a row, then you've got a day break, and then you get another 2 pay-per-views in a row. I'm into it.
Yeah, it was interesting for me. So I've not been keeping up super close with NXT. I've not been watching the weekly shows. The last time I watched it was the last Takeover. You know, I'll read up. If anything important happens, I tend to read up on it. So it was really cool seeing 2 shows, because I think one of the things that makes Takeover quite special is the fact that traditionally it is only 5 matches on a card, or 6 matches lately, but it's a super tight-knit card. And so to see it be able to expand into these 2 days and still both shows, as you said, feel like takeovers, it really did feel like 2 for the price of 1, which I thought was very cool. So we're going to run down the whole card of both nights. starting before we get into the main card, we had the pre-show. I'm assuming you did not watch that. That's fine. There were two matches, one on each night. The first night had Zoe Starks, I believe her name is, versus Toni Storm.
Yeah.
I've never seen her wrestle before. I thought she was very good at the wrestling. Tony's always great. It was a fun match. Not much to say about it other than that. Zoe picked up the win with like a roll-up. So kind of getting the surprise win over Tony. And then on the second night, we had a number one contenders match between Breezango and Killian Dane and Drake Maverick.
Yeah.
I, again, haven't seen a whole lot of the Drake Maverick, Killian Dane stuff, which makes me a bit sad because it seems like it's really good fun. They managed to pick up the win. So they're the new number one contenders in a match that, again, was really fun. I love all the kind of Killian using Drake as a weapon against his opponents. That's right up my alley. So we had that, and then straight on to night one, the main show. Nina Strauss played us out with America the Beautiful, which was patriotic, which is what I think about when I think NXT is patriotism. And then first match on the card between the English Pete Dunne and the Japanese Kushida in a who is the best technical wrestler match. Dan, what did you think of this as a opener for kind of WrestleMania weekend?
Well, just before that, I do just want to briefly touch on the whole sort of presentation of everything. Because as soon as this started, I was like, oh, they're going for it. Like, they had a cool set. They had a big skull at the back there. They had more fans in than I've seen them have in. Like, they literally had like three tiers of fans.
It was double the amount that they normally have.
Yeah, it was about double. I think it was a mixture of like piped in crowd noise and real crowd noise. Yeah. The second night just felt like real crowd noise to me, but I don't know if that's just because they've gotten so good at doing it. But the general look of everything, the feel of it, I was like, oh, this feels cool. It feels like a takeover. They've gone really like all out with it. And I think in general, in my opinion, they've done the best job out of all of the wrestling shows to make it feel like something. Like, I love that NXT feels like this kind of underground fight pit. It's just cool to me, and I think they've just managed better than a lot of the other shows have. So I did want to say that. Yeah, this first match was great. It was exactly what it needed to be, which was like breakneck speed, sprint of a match. Not at all technical, really. It was just this match billed as being like, who's the best technical wrestler, and it was basically like this brawl. Yeah, you've got the great fluid transitions that they're both known for. I haven't loved Kushida's run in NXT, but this is probably one of his best matches, if not his best match. Pete Dunne is just the perfect opponent for him. And all in all, completely did its job. Got me super pumped for the rest of the show. Really quick, get them out there, get people excited. Perfect way to start a wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of these guys have felt, from what I've seen, quite lost on NXT, especially Kushida. And I think more so because I know how young Pete Dunne is. He's still, for such fantastic talent, he is still very early in his career. He's something like, 20? I think he's younger than us. I think he's like 25, if not 24. So I know he's got time to kind of find his place and get there. Kushida, it feels like they have him and they don't know what to do with him necessarily. And I don't really know how you fix that. But in terms of the actual match itself, I thought it was a fantastic way to open the show. Really exciting. Both of them look great. Pete Dunne is I want to say like the illest looking, really healthy person that I've ever seen. Like, he's in incredible shape, and yet there's something about him where I'm like, he looks like he's ill. I
feel like that's just not his natural.
He's so lean
physique.
now.
Like But yeah, he got so lean, and like, I mean, good for him, but I don't know if he necessarily looks the better for it.
I think he looks
He
great.
kind of
Also,
looks.
I think he needs to do something with his hair. I don't know what he needs to do, but something with his hair. I'm not. I don't know what you do with that, but there's definitely something there. Yeah, but this match was great. I think Pete winning was right. I'm just curious to know about what you do with Kushida from here.
Well, Kushida, this was great for Kushida. You know, that's what was good about this match is I think they both end up going over because of it. Because Pete Dunne should have had the win. He's the one most likely to sort of be in that sort of top star challenge for the title sort of bracket. I mean, every time you put him in the ring with someone, it's like a amazing match.
Yeah.
Kushida in this really displayed some, I felt like, newfound intensity. Like I really enjoyed like the look on his face, how into it he was. I'd like to see this match again. I think they had really good chemistry together. So they both come out of this match, I think, looking the better for having had it.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so the next match was the gauntlet match, which I'm going to try and get the order right. Started with Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Then Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Loomis, and LA Knight. I believe that's everyone in the correct order of how they enter. Now, I've not seen a gauntlet match like this. Normally, a gauntlet match is one-on-one, winner of that, next person comes out. Whereas this was almost more like a gauntlet match meets a Royal Rumble. So every 3 minutes, someone else comes in. It's a bit weird. I quite liked it, though. Kept it interesting. And also, I think one thing to note is that Night 1 went out on the WWE Network or Peacock in America at the same time as going out on TV in America. So
Yeah.
this match kind of made sense because you were able to pull away to an ad break and then come back and someone else was coming in. And there were moments where it was very obvious that we were in an ad break. Also, because a couple of times I caught the referee saying, "We're on an ad break."
And there was like a weird sound. There was like a weird
the sound would dip
issue
in and
as
out.
well.
Yeah, I think,
And sometimes they would miss it. So like I think they were trying to cover up
the referee saying we're on a break.
Joseph or whoever, saying that we're on a break. But then sometimes they just miss that cut, and sometimes they get it right. It was a little weird. I don't think they do this very often, so I guess it was just like teething issues there.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think this match kind of started off really. Again, I don't know much about the interplay of these guys, so it started with Isaiah Swerve Scott kind of attacking Leon Ruff before the match even started. These guys were already brawling. Yeah. I really like the way that Leon wrestles because it's really, he obviously bounces around everywhere, but it's very like frantic. It almost feels like he's moving too fast for himself to keep up with, and there's something about that I find really endearing in the kind of plucky underdog character that he's so like, I've got to go. That's quite interesting to me. Yeah. And Isaiah Swerve Scott is very good at doing the wrestling. He's very good at it.
Yeah, this is a new. I feel like he's sort of repackaged a bit. I think his gear was maybe a bit different. He had like a new swagger about him.
This is definitely a different character to the last time I saw him on TV. I'm not going to go through this whole match because it would take ages. Just of the guys who came out, I really like Bronson Reed. I haven't seen much of him, but what I have seen, I really like. He's a size of wrestler you really don't see at the moment. You know, that kind of much larger but fast moving athlete. It almost feels like Samoa Joe is the biggest you kind of get on that. But Bronson Reed feels like a much kind of bigger athlete than that, which again, I really like that. And I really like how different he is to everyone else. Cameron Grimes is good fun. Dexter Loomis, I don't get it at all. I don't get if he's supposed to be creepy or supernatural or supernaturally creepy or a serial killer. Like, it's not quite there for me. But he's someone who I think I haven't seen do a lot of wrestling. It's mostly been character work. So to actually see him pull some stuff off, he did an amazing kind of like spine buster to one of the guys that was really impressive. And LA Knight, I really dislike LA Knight, and I really dislike his promo style because he talks like The Rock, like a Rock tribute act, and I really don't like that. What do you think of him?
I didn't like him either. I thought his promo was fine, and I didn't love the squash match. They gave him a squash match like a week or two ago, and I didn't love it. In this, he pulled some stuff out where I was like, okay, all right, and it really impressed me. So the speed of his movement, like jumping up onto like the turnbuckle there, and like a really athletic, really fast. So the other thing about this match is like everyone was going, same as the first match, everyone was going at 100 miles an hour. This really felt like the old days of NXT Takeover, where it was like, you know that Triple H has been in the back going, what you guys need to go, you need to go out and steal the show. You need to make sure that this is the best wrestling show of the week. And like that message, like loud and delivered, so loud and clear. So yeah. I last night he won me over a bit, and that's true of everyone in this match. Bronson Reed is my least favorite. I didn't like him at all. But in this match, and he won. And I didn't want him to win. Like, it was a case of like the guy I wanted to win goes out, and then it's, I guess this guy. He goes, all right, well, I guess this guy then. And Bronson Reed was like at the bottom of that list. Having said that, when he won, I was like, you know what? It was a good match. You know, he did really well. Like, all of these guys played off him really well. Like, so he won me over, and I was like, yeah, I'll give you a chance, like, because that's a great match. And if the goal of the match was to put Bronson Reed over in people's eyes that weren't quite first on him, they did that for me. I agree with you on Dexter Lumis. It doesn't quite work for me either. My favorite is Cameron Grimes. I think that guy's got so much potential. So much potential. But it wasn't to be. But in general, yeah, another blisteringly quick match. Super high intensity. Wasn't my pick for the winner, but like I said, like, I was like, fine, yeah.
He had one great moment, and I think it was with Isaiah Scott, where he went for almost like a baseball slide between his legs and didn't quite get all the way, and so he just sat on him. And it looked horrific. Like, it looked painful. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So, yeah, really great, really high-paced match, and Bronson Reed we will be talking about a little bit later on. The next match, NXT UK title, Volta versus Tommaso Ciampa. Early contender for best match of the weekend. I'll get your opinion on best match of Takeover towards the end, but what did you think of this?
At this point, I think like Walter is like MVP of NXT, like NXT UK and NXT. Like, every single one of his matches, his pay-per-view matches, are like this. They are exhausting to watch. Like, you are just the constant like brutality of it. Like, it's really terrifying to behold. And you just feel like both these guys are going to be so sore. I love the whole psychology with the hand. You take his biggest weapon out the way, and you really felt that. The chops that Ciampa was giving Walter were despicable. They were awful. They made me just wince. I loved it. It was great. A massive brawl, exhausting. Felt like a real fight. Felt like both guys really wanted to win. Felt like both guys, again, were putting every single ounce that they had into the match. I will say, it was a bit of a weird finish for me. I don't watch NXT UK, but I've never seen Walter win with a chop, and it just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. Like usually he wins with the powerbomb pin or the splash, but the chop, I was like, oh, for such a brutal match, it just felt weird to me that he went that way. But maybe that's just because I'm not that familiar with NXT UK. I don't know, but overall, yeah, what a match.
I have also never seen him just win with a chop, but funny enough, this is something we spoke about not too long ago on a previous podcast.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
with Dean Malenka.
Yeah.
Go and check it out. And this was one of those moments where it really surprised me, but almost made sense because these two just beat the crap out of each other for, I think, like 20 minutes. Just non-stop. And I love this type of match where it's just two really big, brawly dudes just battering each other for my entertainment. That is very much my jam. I like guys doing the jumping about and the flipping. I like guys doing the technical wrestling, but I love the guys just beating the crap out of each other, and that's what this match was. I loved the spot with the announcer's table where he chopped it so hard he broke it in half. Maybe a bit stupid, don't care, loved it. I think the right winner. My only issue now is I don't know what you do with Walter. Is he almost too unbeatable at this point? 700 days to his title reign.
Doesn't matter. You keep the belt on him until there's a challenger where you think they're worthy of it. You know, it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem.
They'll get there.
They'll get, someone will rise. You know, someone will get to that level, and you'll think, yeah, it could be them. But no, don't rush it. You've got a great thing. You know, he basically steals the show on every card that he's on. So why would you change?
Very true. Is there anyone you can see in the horizon that you're like, that's the one?
No, not on NXT UK. I wouldn't have thought.
Anyone
so, no.
on NXT while he's there? It's tough. Tough to think.
He's such a big dude, isn't he? You know. You can think of people who could, you know, like your McIntyres of the world. You know, it's not out of the realms of possibility that they would beat him. But it's tough. But it's great. It's great. We've got this super dominant champion. It just works. It works as well that he's the UK champion. I don't know why. Walter isn't a great live promo, but he does great voiceovers. There's something about that voice just sounds really intimidating and cold. In those like voiceover packages that they do. So yeah, I not a problem. Keep it on for another year. Don't care.
So when the very first wrestling show I ever did photography for, it was Anarchy Pro Wrestling in Camden. And I went along and Volta was on the show. And he'd just won the Progress World title the night before. And he was the first wrestler at the first show I ever did to come up to me and go, "Hello, my name is Walter. Nice to meet you." And I went, "Hello, it's very nice to meet you too." He is so tall, but very nice. A very nice guy. So I'm happy to see him over there kicking ass for as long as he wants. And I haven't seen it, but from what I heard, he had an absolute banger of a match with Rampage Brown on NXT last night as well, where he retained because it was filmed 2 weeks ago, and it would have been weird if he'd lost. Next match.
Yeah.
So the next match is the NXT Tag Team title match to crown the vacant tag team titles. We have MSK versus the Grizzled Young Vets versus Phantasma's mates.
Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah, I know Raul Mendoza. And
Raul Mendoza, the trooper, has been in NXT. My God.
He's been there a long time. And I feel bad not remembering this tag team's name because I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah.
It was one of those. I'm trying to pull it up now really quickly. It was one of those that when they started, Legado del Fantasma, that's what it's called, and his name is Wild. Joaquin Wild? Joaquin? I don't know. They don't say it on commentary very often. I apologize for my ignorance. Going into this match, they were the team where I was like, I think there's a good chance they might win because they're the team I don't care about. By the end of the match, I was like, I really like these guys. And by the end of night 2, I was like, I really like this team, this group in total.
Yeah.
We've seen Grizzled Young Vets go up against MSK before in the Dusty finals of the last takeover. So we knew what these guys were capable of. When we added in one more team, Dan, was it better than that match? Did you even enjoy this match? I know you're not the biggest fan of MSK. What were your thoughts on this match?
Well, saying that I'm not the biggest fan of MSK is an understatement. I cannot stand MSK. I don't mind Phantasma, and I like the Grizzled Young Veterans. I think they're great, and I think Zach Gibson is one of the best wrestlers, full stop, that they've got on the microphone. He's amazing. He should be a singles star, and I don't know why he isn't. Match itself was fine. It's not really my kind of thing. It felt a lot to me like they were trying to compete with like the AEW tag team stuff. And that's something we'll revisit later as well. But it just felt like, oh, you could do these style of like spot matches. It wasn't as bad as AEW, but it was enough that it just sort of put me off. I liked it well enough. I just hate MSK. There's just absolutely nothing about them. Like the Grizzled Young Veterans are like cocky, arrogant. Like, we're going to tell you what you're going to do to you. Like Legado del Fantasma have got the whole like heritage Mexican pride thing going on. What are MSK about? Like, tell me, what are they? What's their thing?
They won the Dusty Cup. Is that not enough?
But who are they? Why do they exist? What are they about?
Yeah, I have to say, having not watched the weekly shows, like, for me, these guys have been there for 5 minutes, essentially. And if there's one thing NXT's not short on, it's tag teams and the tag team stories. So one coming up to on WrestleMania week, I remember back to the NXT Takeover before, I want to say WrestleMania 32. So NXT Takeover Dallas. And the opening contest of that was the Revival versus American Alpha. Now, American Alpha had been there for a while.
Back in the heyday.
And that match, I remember the end of that match. I remember watching it with you. We both almost cried because of how well this story had been told with these guys chasing for the titles. And that's kind of what was missing here. I feel like we've jumped in, and again, I don't know where this is going, but it feels like we've jumped in very quick with these guys. I don't know them yet. I ain't ready to kind of get in that championship relation with them. I need to see them downfall a little bit. I need to see... Also, I really wanted to see Grizzled Young Vets win. I wanted to see Zach Gibson with the NXT tag team titles. And towards the end of the match, I was like, you know what? If the Phantasma team wins, I'm pretty cool with that because these guys are great. My only... Because I enjoy matches like this, but my only complaint with it is there is so much that happens that I can't talk to you about any particular spot that I really enjoyed. Because there's just a lot of flipping and that my brain's like, I don't really... Like, the information's going in, but nothing's processing. Nothing's sticking with me, really. Except for all these lads are really good at bouncing around the place.
Yeah. And the match, the match was okay. Well, and I really think that the Zach Gibson was the glue that held it together, because while all this nonsense is going on, you've got a guy who's like wrestling and like getting people down to the mat and just being like tough and like trying to win, and, you know, selling, and that to me was the glue that kind of held everything together, because without him it all falls apart for me. I mean, to be fair, I know people like shit like this. I know they do. I know there's an audience out there, you know, otherwise they wouldn't do it on AEW every week, but it's just not my kind of thing at all. Having said that, it was in the kind of death slot before the main event, so it was a nice sort of catch your breath match. It's just such a perfectly paced pay-per-view. And they did, what I will say, like all the other matches, they went like balls to the wall with it. You felt like everyone was flying at 100%, like injuries be damned, you know, I'm just going to go.
One thing that I do think was amazing is over these 2 nights, no one got injured, which I'm really happy about, but very surprised at, because I think more so on night 2, there's some crazy stuff that happens. Well, let's get on to the main event of night 1. NXT women's title match. Oh, and sorry, I should say, MSK won. They're the tag team champions. I'm not feeling it, but hey ho, they'll figure it out. We move on to the main event now. We have Io Shirai defending the title against Gonzalez. Raquel is someone that I've been very impressed with as someone who's only really been watching the takeovers. It's really felt like homegrown talent for NXT, which is something I don't think we've seen much of in the women's division for a while. It always seems to be like, you know, Io Shirai. Well, actually, I take that back. Rhea Ripley was also felt homegrown. But it always feels like NXT is dominated by one of these like big Japanese stars or one of these big indie stars. So Raquel really feels like someone kind of grown up from the ground up. We saw her get the pinfall at War Games. We saw her win the Women's Dusty Classic. And then we get to see her here. Main event of NXT Night 1. Did it live up to being in the main event?
Well, the short answer is yes. I really enjoyed the match, and I enjoyed it for a lot of reasons. One of them being that it was just so well built. This whole thing, you know, I mean, all the way back, I believe she pinned Io Shirai at
in War Games.
War Games. Yeah. So, you know, and they've been seeding it. It's been she's been looming. She's been really impressing. She had a great match with Rhea Ripley. And I love just seeing like a lot of these wrestlers when they really progress. You know, this is a woman who was knocked out of the first round of the Mae Young Classic twice, I think. Once or twice, I don't know. She? But yeah. So she goes from that where there's just not much about her at all, and she's grown into this really, really good wrestler. You put her against Io Shirai, one of the best in the world, and she just does not look out of place there. What I loved about this match is there's just a great dynamic. They understand the dynamic of these two, that like got the bigger, this massive woman. She's this dominating force, but Io Shirai is, you know, fast, and she's a ninja, and she's gonna jump off high things, and she's gonna do everything she can. And as the match goes on, you start to realize it's not gonna be enough. And I love that, and it was really like a changing of the guard, like passing a torch sort of moment. I don't think Io Shirai has had the best run in NXT. Actually, I think she's great, but I don't know. There's something she hasn't had the matches. I don't know what it is, but she hasn't had those like top tier, like 5-star matches that we were expecting. But this was one of the better ones. And props to Raquel Gonzalez, who, like I said, has just shown shit's growth. And not all of the women do. You know, a lot of women have been there like years and years, don't get any better. Examples: Aaliyah, no better than she was like 4 years ago. The MMA girls, Marina Shafir and Jasmine
on
Jude.
The show, because you watch NXT weekly, right?
Yeah. They haven't been for a while. But they were there for years. You know, they were there for a few years, and they just never got better. They had a match not too long ago. I think in the Was it in the tag tournament thing that they
That
did?
would
I don't
make
know,
sense.
but terrible. So not all of them get better. You'd think that they, you're wrestling every day, you're training and everything, you get better, but it doesn't always work that way. But Raquel Gonzalez is an example of someone who has. So I love this. I thought it was a great match. I was super excited. Felt like she was going to win, and when she did, it felt right. And I'm excited to see what she can do.
Yeah, I think EO was kind of put into the. I think everyone in NXT's had a tricky time. And I'm going to get onto this more with Finn Balor, because when they hyped up Finn Balor's match, they talk about all the amazing wrestlers that he's beaten. And it's like, well, he's beaten 3 of them. And they were all top tier guys and they were all great. But this doesn't stick out to me as like one of the greatest NXT title runs of all time. It doesn't feel like we've made any stars here. It just feels like we've been running the carousel with the same bunch of lads for a while now, and there's not been much change. And I think, a lot of the NXT title reigns have kind of suffered from the same. I'd say Walter has even suffered a lot from that, even though it's been 700 days as champion. A good portion of that was sat out during the pandemic early on. Like NXT UK didn't start back up until September, October this year. So he missed a massive chunk of that. And then you look at the list, because 700 days you're here, you expect this, like, who's who. And it's like, there's some names on there. And I think EO's kind of had that same issue. Having said that, I have really enjoyed the matches she has had. The triple threat matches, the war games, the one-on-one. Like, I think she's done a great job as champion. I think this is definitely the right time for a champion, for a championship change. The promo package at the start really showed that this is something they built up well. Gonzalez looks great. The big spot in the match I loved, where EO jumped off of the skull.
Oh, that
looked
was great.
I love
no fear, zero fear.
I love any spot that can then be shown from 10 camera angles straight after, with cameras that could only surely be placed there.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone decides that. Hello, by the way, to Dan from Eve, who has popped into the comments, letting us know that he hasn't watched it, shows his interest in the show as NXT bores his tits off. Which is a shame.
Jesus.
I feel I'm sad he's not getting what we're getting from NXT.
We see the world in very different ways than Dan.
We really do. We really do. I understand him not enjoying NXT UK. I would like to know people that enjoy NXT UK, and I would like to ask why. Why is that? That's not true. There's so many great talents over in NXT UK. I've just seen them all do a lot of these matches they keep showing already. So
it's just a terribly produced show as well, though, NXT
It's
UK.
not great. Hopefully they'll get to, or I don't know. I don't care. I just hope the talent's happy. This match was great. Love both of them. I'm not sure what EO does now. I assume goes up to Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Who knows? With NXT, this song I'm going to get on to actually with Night 2. And speaking of Night 2, we'll jump straight in. Before we get to the matches, the show is opened by Poppy. First of all, covering Adam and the Ants Stand and Deliver, which I'm really happy they did. And then doing one of her new songs. Are you a fan of Poppy?
Of course I'm not a fan of Poppy. It's not my, I feel the same way about them as I do about AEW tag matches. Like, I know they're for someone, but it's
that
not
ain't
for
for
me.
you. I love Poppy. I am a massive fan of Poppy. So I really enjoyed this opening. It was one of my favorite parts of the show. I think that's more reflects how much I miss live music than it does anything else. We'll get on to the first match then. It was a ladder match for the undisputed Cruiserweight Championship. Escobar versus Devlin. I feel like, did we talk about ladder matches recently on a podcast?
I don't remember.
I feel like I had a conversation with you recently about innovation in matches and how you should always kind of be pushing for innovation. There was a moment in this, and I always look out for it in ladder matches specifically, because I think it's especially in NXT, because they always try, they're always trying to push the bar in terms of the wrestling. And the one thing that I saw that I was like, absolutely love that 100%, was Devlin gets the ladder on the outside. We all know the opening spot. You get it from under the ring, you pull it up, you get baseball drop kicked. He pulls the ladder up, gets it up, sees him, and just moves, and then hits him with it. And I'm like, yes, at last, someone finally saw the guy running at them. I appreciated that. What did you think of this Night 2 opener?
Well, I thought it was going to be really good. Oh. I didn't know it was a ladder match. I kind of wish it wasn't. Didn't care for it, really. It was a strange match. There was a lot of odd moments in there, it felt like they weren't selling for each other, or like or they were tired, or there was a lot of really weak-ass looking punches and a lot of strange moments. I think it was sort of more about I sort of got the feeling that these two guys had never touched before in their lives. This was completely new, and they were feeling each other out, and then that was just the whole match, was them trying to work out how to work with each other. Certainly not the sort of great opener that we had to Night 1. It was a bit more like, oh, okay. Because I loved Night 1 so much, and like I said to you before, it really felt like NXT going, fucking bring it. We're the best wrestling show in the world. Bring it. I was expecting similar, if not bigger things from Night 2. So Night 2 may have suffered a bit from that. But in general, this was an odd match. And I thought it was going to be really good, because I do like both these guys, but just never came together for me at all.
Interesting. I thought there were some very cool spots in this match. I thought Devlin being thrown into the leaning ladder that ended up just standing completely upright, and amazing the commentators who were like, how is the ladder doing that? I enjoyed that. But then there were moments I can kind of see where you're coming from, like the big moonsault off the ladder. So Devlin hits this massive moonsault, which looked like he shouldn't have hit it. Like, physics looked like it.
I thought he was too close.
He looked way too close.
Gets him with the top of his chest.
Yeah, he nailed it. And within 2 seconds, Escobar's back up, which I found very strange. I was like, oh, okay, we're not. All right, interesting. We're moving fast. There's a bit of interference, which is fine. He's the bad guy. We're supposed to get that. I think I'm a little done with the breaking the ladder in half thing. I know the ladders.
It was brutal, though.
It was that fallback.
It looked
but
good.
Then part of me wonders, would it have looked just as good if it was like a ladder? I don't know if it's like a softer landing to land on one of those breakaway ones, because they're made of wood. I think from when they shatter, you can kind of see. So I don't know if it's softer to land. I don't know. It did look gross. Anyway, Escobar kind of picks up the win at the end. And I guess it's this weird moment where I feel like I'm supposed to be booing him. And then he's on stage with his mates and his 9-year-old child. And I'm like, I'm not going to boo him. His kid's there. I don't want to boo his child.
Kind of an odd moment, wasn't it?
It was a really odd moment.
I don't know.
It was strange.
I kind of wanted Devlin to win. I like Jordan Devlin ever since he had that match with Tyler Bate, however long ago. And Escobar, I like the look of, but he just hasn't really done it for me yet. And I wanted to see him do it in this match. Again, it might just be that this just isn't my type of match, but there was definitely just a lot of weird moments. And it just, if anyone disagrees with me, go and watch this match back again and just look at the punches specifically. There's just loads of like no selling punches and loads of like really like weak ass looking punches. And I'm just like, feels weird to me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I really like Escobar, especially from this match. Really enjoyed his promo after the match as well, a bit later on. He's very good at talking, is one of the things that I gathered, and I wasn't expecting that. I really like the way he says champion. He says champion. I'm like, oh. I like the cruiserweight champion. I like it. Sounds fun. I enjoyed this match. I didn't think it was the best, but I think it's kind of high paced, get the crowd hyped up for what's to come. And what was to come was another title match. This time, the first takeover defense of the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus The Way. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. There was a moment during this match I had to Google how tall Indy Hartwell was. Because she looks like a giant. She's 5'8". She is very small. It's just Candice LeRae is so much smaller. It's amazing. I genuinely thought she was going to be like 6 foot or something. I was quite surprised by that. I guess before we get into the match, one thing that I think a lot of people have spoken about is women's NXT tag team titles. Is that a thing we needed? Or could the WWE women's tag team titles have filled the void of that? Kind of gone around all shows.
Well, I think that there's definitely I mean, it's the deepest women's wrestling roster on television. Like these are just the best women in the world. There's so many of them. So a tag team division makes sense. But yeah, I agree. I would have just put the WWE tag titles down there because WWE are doing nothing with them. So they're just, wasting space, becoming a bit ridiculous on the main roster. So why not put them on NXT and try and build the prestige of them? But yeah, I definitely think it's good to have a women's tag division on the show, but I don't see why it had to be separate belts. Yeah, I agree.
think, well,
I don't know why they did that.
I don't know myself if I think it should be separate or it should just be one belt. I think I saw Mickie James on the pre-show talked about this match, and she said, when I was wrestling, we didn't have the opportunity for titles like this, but if I was around, or, if I could be down in NXT right now, this is another prize that I would be gunning for. And I really like that. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That I know there's this kind of, there's too many belts and all of this, but it kind of makes sense. It's another prize. It's another reason for these women to be forming tag teams, another storyline link for them to be able to have, again, kind of developing tag team wrestling.
It is if you do it right? It is if you actually take the time to build a division and set up tag teams and stories and feuds, which just doesn't happen on the main roster. The main roster is so haphazard with it. I saw an interview with Ember Moon like a while ago. It's one of those like network table for three, I think it was, and they bring up the women's tag team titles, and you can tell Ember says something like, "Oh, I just think like there are other girls who like deserve that more than me." What she's really saying is, I don't want anywhere near those tag team titles. They're a joke. I want to have the main title. And it's interesting that now she finds herself here. But if there's anywhere that's going to do it right, it's NXT. And so far they've invested in making actual tag teams who have got wear the same gear and like come out together and are a tag team. So it remains to be seen like how they'll be, but it's only a prize if people want it, right? And in order for people to want it, you have to have a proper division, and you have to do it well, and you have to make these titles like prestigious.
Yeah, and I think for the first outing at Takeover, this was a really good showing for that. I think I really like this tag team of Ember Moon and Shotzi. I think they work really well together. Shotzi is just this absolute ball of energy, sometimes to her absolute carnage. As there was a moment in the match where
suicide dive.
Lorraine and Hartwell are on the outside. She suicide dives, and it almost looks like, I can't tell if it looked like Lorraine and Hartwell went, no, and they kind of like moved because she's coming so fast, or if Shotzi just went, ladies, don't worry, and like almost pushed them out the way so that she could dive into the plexiglass. It looked like really sore, but again, apparently there were no injuries, so I'm assuming she's fine after that. She is an absolute ball of energy, and I really like the way. I think Candice LeRae has been doing some really great character work, and I've not really seen Indy Hartwell much wrestle, so this was a really good first outing for me. And Ember Moon's great. Ember Moon. She's great. So I think all of these kind of worked well together. The end was a little bit messy for me.
The finish was sloppy. I don't know who thought that double.
She's done it a lot,
was a good
and
idea.
it never. Well, it's a bit like Natalya always does the double sharpshooter, and it never works.
Double sharpshooter looks terrible.
But I really like Shotzi's finisher. Just sit on them.
I like it.
Fucking land on them. Overall, I really enjoyed this match. Again, fast paced, quick, good fun. And then,
honestly, I ordered food and it came during this match.
You're preoccupied with the.
I feel like I was actually, you know what happened? This is not relevant at all, but it's quite funny. I ordered a burger and fries from Five Guys. And,
no affiliation, don't know them.
And they delivered. And they delivered two bags that were the same.
They doubled your order.
They doubled my order. There. So like, I'd initially ordered one, double cheeseburger with loads of shit on it, and then I had two, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna not eat this other burger. So during that match, I was
awful did you ate two? How awful did you feel?
I felt pretty bad. Yeah, I was kind of conked out. So this match seemed okay.
It seemed to be stuff happening. I stayed up for this one, and I've been feeling the effects of it all day today. But I, for lunch, also partook in a Five Guys, and it did make me feel a lot better. This podcast is not sponsored. Anyway, next match. NXT North American title. Johnny Gargano from the Way taking on Bronson Reed, winner of the gauntlet match the night before. How do you feel about Johnny Gargano still being in NXT?
Well, it's if he's going to be anywhere, he should be there, because if he goes on the main roster, he'll sink, and that's no good for anyone. I'm fed up to the back teeth with Johnny Gargano though, and I know it's not all his fault, but I've just seen his shtick for so long, and I'm so bored of him. And Johnny Gargano matches just make me roll my eyes at this point. I think he should go to NXT UK. I think once we get this territory system all set up, and COVID is behind us, and there's NXT Japan, I think Johnny Gargano can be the guy that sort of goes between them, and that kind of keeps guys like that fresh.
Kind of what they were doing with Chris Hero, Cassius Ohno.
Yeah. Where is he on NXT?
He was let go in the in April last year in the big cull of talent.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I hate it that he's still there. And I think this is a problem with NXT as a third brand is you're getting a lot more kind of like established NXT stars. And I think during that kind of like prime time of NXT, part of what made it so special, and what kept it fresh and kept it rolling is, and I think it's something that people don't like to admit, but we got to play with new shiny toys every month. There wasn't the same bag of tricks every 6 months or so. The roster almost looked completely different, and that was exciting and it kept everything fresh. Whereas we've had a lot of the same guys now there, and I don't want to see them there. I don't want to see Ciampa in NXT. I want to see him over on Raw tangling it up with Randy Orton. I want to see Gargano wrestling Tyler Bate, wrestling Noam Dar and those guys in NXT UK. I want to see Finn Balor doing something else. I want to see Adam Cole doing something else. Like, get them out of NXT now. It's time to start. For me personally, this is what would bring me back to watching it kind of more full time, is bring on the new guys. And speaking of new guys, Bronson Reed's in this match, and I think he does a really good job. I'm really impressed with the fact he can do a moonsault that looks exactly like Bam Bam Bigelow's moonsault, because it's slightly awkward and slightly goes off to the side, and I like that. This match was a Johnny Gargano match. As you said, we've kind of seen it before at this point. I enjoyed it still, but his character has just become quite stale for me. I don't like Austin Theory. I get vibes from him that I'm like, I don't like you. I don't know why, but there's something about him. I'm just like, you're not doing it for me. So I guess overall I wasn't overly loving this.
Yeah, I agree. Part of the problem was Bronson Reed got absolutely gassed about halfway through it. I think in the multi-man match, it was covered up, right? Because two guys do their spot, and then they're doing their spot, and then you come in and do your spot. So you can keep that sort of high energy, this fast-paced, and everyone still gets time to rest. In this, because you're having this guy like this wrestle Johnny Gargano, and weird booking, like they decided to do it like a sort of 50-50 sort of thing, where it's like 50-50 offense, and it's like, why? Like, who's booking this? Like, why would you look at that guy who's twice the size of that guy and book it that way?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then what happens as a result of that is that Bronson Reed gets gassed out.
Well, does he, sorry to jump in, does he get gassed out, or do they start playing up on so he got a rib injury in the night before, I think from Isaiah Scott. And there's a moment in this match where he gets pushed into the announce table. And from then on, he's really like selling the side. That's what I thought was going on.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just marking out. But it looked to me like the dude was really tired. Like at some point he just like stopped selling towards the end of the match, and I'm like, this looks like a dude that wants this to end. But maybe he was just selling really good, and I bought into it. I don't know. But either way, I didn't care for it. I don't know why you would book the match this way. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I thought it's a good match, but I'm bored. And it's such a shame, because I think when the North American title happened, like when it first started, it was really exciting. It was almost like another main event, whereas now it just feels like the belt that you give to the guy who should be in the main event, but you don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, because he's been in the main event.
He's been there and he can't.
Happened. Yeah, they gave it to Gargano because yeah. That's exactly what happened. They should never have given it to Gargano, and the reason they did was because they were like, well, we feel like we owe this guy something, and he can't be in the main event anymore because he's been in like 10 main events in a row. So let's give him this, and it's the wrong move, and it's not good for the belt.
Agreed. Anyway, let's move on to our co-main event of the night, which is I'm not having that. We've got the NXT Championship, Finn Balor defending against Karrion Kross. Big man versus small man match is kind of how it's presented to us as. What were your thoughts kind of going in on this match? What are your thoughts of Karrion Kross? I should get, because I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this guy.
Not a fan. Best thing about him is his entrance.
It's a really good entrance.
He's kind of it's a great entrance, and he's kind of intense. Going into the match, I thought Finn Balor should win. I've really enjoyed this Finn Balor title run. I mean, he was doing nothing on the main roster, so bring him to NXT. He kind of got the belt by accident, and he did bloody wonders with it. I mean, look at all the matches he's had. You look at all of his pay-per-view main event matches. Crazy matches. Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, Adam Cole. Like, he's just done so well. It's such a great run. So I thought, because I'm not a fan of Karrion Kross, I just thought, let it continue. So going in, that's where I was at. What do you think of him?
I saw someone on Twitter describe Karrion Kross as Bull Buchanan if he listened to Disturbed, and I can't get that out of my head now.
I don't
Bull
know who
Buchanan was the big bald lad in the Right to Censor in like early 2000s. Yeah.
Right. And it Disturbed, that kind of like vanilla.
No,
rock
they're
band.
like, Down with the Sickness. God, you know nothing of metal. No.
Did Disturbed do that cover of Sound of Silence?
There you go.
See, that's why I think the vanilla. I just assumed that's the only thing I've ever seen. I just assumed that every Disturbed song was.
I know. Karrion Kross looks like his favorite Metallica album might be Saint Anger, which is fine, but he's got that vibe to him. I'm not a massive fan of his. I will get onto why shortly. I think the entrance is great. I think the character is great. I just don't know if he's the best person to play that character. I think for me, I felt like it was kind of obvious that Karrion Kross was going to win this match going in, because of how unstoppable they'd made him prior to losing the belt. It just felt like, okay, we just want to thank you, Finn, for your service over the last few months, but now we must resume with previously scheduled programming.
What we were doing,
There was a moment in this match where Finn had the arm and he kept like getting him down, and there was a moment where Karrion looked to be in utter pain, and Finn looked so pleased with himself, like almost very smug, like what you thought, because he had like 6 inches on me in height, that I wasn't going to be able to take him down and manipulate him and do what I do in this ring with him. And it was this really cool moment where it was like, oh, this is the match I want. I want the smaller guy to be the dominant guy in the match purely because he's just better.
Yeah.
And they did that for like 5 minutes, and then they were like, okay, now it's Kross's turn. I don't like Kross's finisher, which is the Saito suplex. For me, it's on par with the belly to belly.
I thought it was the club
and
to
then
the
he
back
started
of the
doing
head.
this club to the back of the head, and it doesn't look good. Like, I know someone else out there that does this like move. It's not their finisher, but I want to say it's like a New Japan guy.
Yeah, probably.
Will Ospreay does a really good one. I remember watching a match with him and Kota Ibushi a few years ago. I want to say Wrestle Kingdom, but I'm not sure. And he does like this kind of Kota Ibushi's on his knees, and he just runs up behind and like whapa, and it looks disgusting. Whereas this almost feels like he didn't want to do it, like he couldn't commit to it because I don't know. It just looked awkward to me. It just didn't look like it. He was very confident in doing it. Match was good. Karrion Kross, the new champion. Okay, cool. I guess. I don't know. I didn't have much to say about this one.
Well, I really like this match. I thought you touched on it a bit. Like the psychology in ring was really good. I love this idea. There was so many good little ideas in it. You touched on one of them. It's just him being sort of better technically. But then there's this other idea that was in there of like Finn trying to goad. I mean, the commentators help put this over as well. Of like Finn trying to goad Karrion Kross and make him emotional.
Yes.
And then because he's emotional, he's blind, and then so he's going to be able to take control that way because he's going to make mistakes.
I do like
really cool little nuanced idea. And then it comes around in the finish where it's like, yeah, but you've made him emotional, or you made him angry, but he's too powerful. But you know what I mean? Like you can't. He's got you, and he just starts clubbing him, and it's like, no, you've brought this emotion out, but it hasn't made him weaker. It's made him stronger. So it's like, as much as I don't care about Karrion Kross, I liked this is probably his best match. Well, it's definitely his best match. It's so much of that is to do with Finn Balor, and so much of that is to do with that really nice psychology that was in the match there. I tell you what annoyed me. Was he selling his ribs or something? Or the arm? He was selling sort of the shoulder. He was selling the shoulder, right? Selling the shoulder, and it's like, gets up. As soon as the match ends, he forgets about the shoulder. The shoulder's gone, ripping it up. There's like no one injured. It's like he's just walked out. But I'll forgive the guy because, he's happy. He's just won the title, and now he gets to have his run. So much like Bronson Reed in the first one, I was like, don't care about this guy, but the match did enough to be like, all right, fine, I'll give you a go. I'll give you a chance. Like I said, some really interesting, like subtle wrestling psychology there that you just don't see a lot of very often.
Yeah. I'm interested to know where it goes. I'm interested to know who the challengers are going to be for Cross. I really need it to not be the same faces that we've already seen. I'm okay with him tangling with like Pete Dunne. That's okay. But then it can't be Undisputed Era lads. It shouldn't be Gargano. But then I don't know who you put up in front of him either. So
I don't know. It's such an interest that you need him with someone who's like really good technically. I don't know who that is yet. But we'll see.
It'll be interesting. It feels like after WrestleMania, NXT, as it kind of moves to Tuesday, should be having a bit of a soul searching moment, I think, when it comes to their roster depth and who they have and what they can do with everyone. I think that's something definitely to look at. We're going to move on now to the main event. It's an unsanctioned match. Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. One thing I'm going to say, the idea of an unsanctioned match as the main event, I'm not a big fan of it. I actually think AEW does this better with the lights out match.
I just think the whole idea is dumb. Can you please explain to me what the difference is between an unsanctioned match and a no DQ match?
Unsanctioned match means that it doesn't count as a win at the end of the day because it's not an official match. So it doesn't count, really.
Why would that matter?
This is just a fight at the end of the day. It's just, I don't know. That's why I like the AEW's Lights Out match, which is, they did one recently, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, where it's, here's what we're going to do. The show's over. We've done the main event. Show's over. What we're going to do now, we're going to turn the lights off. And we're going to turn them back on. When we turn them back on, these guys are just coming out for a fight. We are not to be held responsible for what they're doing. We're just going to let them do it. And the reason why that made more sense is because what they did in that match seemed illegal. In the Britt Baker versus
come on,
Thunder Rosa match.
No, I completely disagree with you. It's so dumb. Come on, look at the hardcore matches. I tell you why it's so dumb, because we had all this shit happen. It's specifically dumb, and it's especially dumb in NXT. But we had all these hardcore matches, like worse than, like, just look at the War Games matches. The first War Games matches, or Foley Undertaker, or whatever it is, which were like way worse than this, and yet
they were sanctioned.
They were
Listen,
sanctioned. Like,
this
it's
is
just silly.
two lads who are in the biggest faction on the show, best friends, now fighting each other. Has to be in an unsanctioned match. Who produced this match? It was Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Who was the last time this storyline happened? It was Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Let them do their thing. Just let them have their fun. I like the idea. What I didn't like is earlier in the night, and I'm not sure if it was on the pre-show or on the main card, but they interviewed William Regal, and towards the end of the interview, he's asked, "Are you fining Adam Cole for assaulting you? Will Adam Cole be fined for assaulting you?" And he takes a second and he goes, "No," and walks off. And I'm like, "What was that? What are you setting up here? What's
I missed that.
What's this little tease? Is William Regal going to start teaming with Adam Cole one more run? I don't know. What was the... But it didn't pay off, so I don't think it was anything. Semantics aside of no DQ matches, unsanctioned, hardcore, whatever. What do you think of this match?
I think part of the problem is, we mentioned AW again. Again, I don't like it when they do it, but at least when they do it, they can blade. Right, they can have these bloody wrestlers. They can do these gruesome things, and I feel like if you're bigging up a match, it's like it's going to be so brutal and so violent that we have to. It's unsanctioned or whatever nonsense that is. Then the two guys like don't bleed. It kind of undermines it for me, and I think like, and it's not that I'm bloodthirsty. I'm not like, oh, I need the blood. It's just like, if you can't compete on that level, just don't do it. Just don't do it. I mean, it just becomes cartoony. You know, they're just hitting each other with things and like bouncing off, and like it just yeah. All right. Having said that, it did get me invested towards the end. I'm a huge Kyle O'Reilly fan, which is another reason why this match frustrated me, because I just sort of thought, you know, this Kyle O'Reilly who's known for having great technical wrestling, these slick transitions, the jiu-jitsu stuff, and yet just not going to have him do that in his first, like, the thing that brought him to the table, we're just not going to have him do in this match. It did get me invested by the end. The powerbomb through the stage spot was brutal. I liked the finish. I liked the Kyle O'Reilly one. It was absolutely the right decision. But overall, again, I just think, why? You know, why does it have to be this way? Like, that was my initial thought, and so it just didn't really pay off for me, but it did. I was invested by the end.
Funny enough, I did think his match with Finn Balor, the first one, was way more hardcore than this. He broke his jaw. Kyle O'Reilly broke his fist or something.
So you look at the weapons. The weapons have to do damage. We have to see the damage the weapons do, or what's the point of the weapons?
And there are ways around getting around that. I think creative spots. Adam Cole loves doing the inverted chairs. He loves that, and it looks horrific, whilst probably not being that painful. The chain, you can kind of get away with that. It's a blunt instrument, so is it gonna draw blood? Not every time, not necessarily.
The chain was hilarious because it was like, oh, he's doing a figure four, but he's does with the chain.
And so I think they just sat on it, aren't they? That's not gonna hurt.
It was
much.
Super loose, but I was also just like, but what's the chain doing though?
Is it
Like, why
pressure?
Why does it hurt more if he's got a chain?
I mean, when he first introduced the chain, he immediately gets slammed on it, and that looks not fun. And then
and the clothesline spot was good.
And I really liked the ending where he wrapped it around his leg. And what I liked about it is earlier he'd done something where he did kicks and he wrapped it around his leg that went into the figure of four. And he'd start the kicks and it would just start slipping down his leg because it's a bit of chain.
Yeah.
And I noticed when he's wrapping it around on the top rope, he doesn't tuck it in. There's a crocodile. There's a carabiner on it, and he just like, there we go. We are hooked on. We are not going anywhere. Yeah. And I like that. some really cool spots in this. I did like the big through the stage moment. I really like then Adam Cole punching in the side of the stage so that he could drag him out.
The plaster and stuff.
Yeah, I really like that. And also before I get into any more on the match, this is the first time we see either of these guys without Undisputed Era branding.
Oh, let me just touch on that for a second.
Well, I mean, come and jump on my point, but go for it, because I feel like we've got the same opinion. Go for it. I feel like we've got the same.
Are you going to talk about the music?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the two generic rock tracks, which if you like played them for me now, I wouldn't be able to tell you which was which. Like, they sounded almost identical.
They sounded like a dude on the street selling bootleg versions of the Undisputed Era themes. Both of them sounded the same and yet slightly different, and both bad. And it's frustrating, right? Because Kyle O'Reilly comes out and he's got this very, we've seen him over the last few weeks. He's now wearing cut-off denim jackets. He's wearing 90s band t-shirts. I see the flannel tied around the waist. There's a very obvious 90s grunge vibe going on.
Yeah.
So do that. Play some Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Play some, add some of that to it. I don't, either make an original piece of music or do a WCW and bootleg a version of Pearl Jam that's like 2 chords off so you don't get sued, or pay for a song. Just pay for it. Yeah. AEW started paying for music.
CFOS left.
Just pay for it.
CFOS left, didn't they? Like, so, and they gone are the days where like every single NXT theme was an absolute banger.
Absolutely.
CFOS left, and then it all went to shit. The NXT music of late is just appalling, with the exception, I guess, of Karrion Kross.
And on the that was CFOS, I believe. That was like one of the last ones, I think. That was one of the last ones. I could be wrong, but I think it was one of the last ones. The new guys they've got have been very hit or miss, because I know they've like produced Big E's new theme song, which is very good, but then part of me thinks it's very good because Wale's gotten involved and he's a rapper that loves wrestling and specifically loves Big E. So it was like, I want to write you a banger of a theme song. So I feel like that's where that comes from. So why don't we just do more of that? And then Adam Cole's theme, I genuinely found offensive. One, he missed the boom on it.
He missed the boom. And then he like did it without, and he's like,
which feels like a bad omen of where he's going. And he's got such a swagger about him. He's such a cocky asshole of a character. Again, his music's not hard to do. So for it to fall so flat in this moment where presentation is so important, I used to be Mr. Bloody Encyclopedia I was a jukebox of wrestlers' theme songs back in the day. Not anymore, man. Everyone comes out now to fairly generic music. There's very few bangers, which is it's sad. It's sad. I really enjoyed this match. I think it was a really good way to cap off NXT. As you said, I think the right guy won, and either Monday or Friday after WrestleMania, I expect to see one of these lads crop up on Raw or SmackDown. And I would say Adam Cole. Don't keep this going. Call it a day. Be done with it. Let Kyle O'Reilly start to rise. Let Roderick Strong start to flounder again, which is a bit of a shame. Because I've seen a lot of his promo stuff during this, and I'm like, Roddy, mate, you were so bland until you joined the Undisputed Era. Then you develop this really good character. And then the second you guys break up, your promos are back to, guys, why are we all fighting? I don't want us to be fighting. And I'm like, what is this? Come on, you can do better. You can
I
do
feel
better.
like that's probably not his fault, but yeah, it makes sense. I think they should do something where like he's the one who doesn't want it to end because he's the one who like saved his career, kind of thing. Like it made him interesting and relevant.
I really want on a NXT very soon Bobby Fish to show up, still in all the Undisputed Era gear, with the Undisputed Era music coming out. Hey! And he's just like, Kyle, how you doing? Wait, what happened?
No one told him.
Just no one texted him just to let him know he's not been watching. Yeah, because that's... I'm surprised they didn't even bring him in to... I actually thought he was going to show up in this match. In some capacity. There was even a moment right at the end where Kyle was on the ramp, kind of stood there staring, in that, you know, the lower third comes up to say it's the end of the show, and I'm like,
yeah.
And you even see a referee appear and say something to him, and that he clearly wasn't supposed to be seen on camera because you see him like this behind Kyle.
Yeah.
And it's a very awkward moment. Like, we clearly weren't supposed to see him. And all he does is just raise his arm, put it down, and we fade out. And I was like, oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine, I guess.
To raise his arm.
I just was expecting...
No, I'm happy for O'Reilly. He's one of my favorites. He's one of my top guys. Love the guy.
Yeah.
Wish only the best for him. Wasn't fussed on the match. Wasn't really for me. And I think it's a shame they didn't get to have a wrestling match, given that they're both such good wrestlers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also, just in general, night 2 just is not as strong as night 1. Didn't have that same hungry energy about it. Felt like everyone in night 1 was like, we are like just going full on. I don't care if I break my neck. I'm going to go so hard. And it seems like on night 2, they were like, just reel it back a bit.
Yeah.
Probably my imagination, but it's just not as strong anyway. The first night was much stronger. I wonder if that's something to do with the TV deal. I don't know.
I don't know. Match of the takeover.
Ooh, I'm gonna give it. You go first.
Oh no, I asked the question.
All right. I'm torn between 2.
Same.
I'm torn between Walter and Ciampa and Raquel and Io.
Yeah, same.
I want to give it to Raquel and Io just because it was the long-term story.
All right, you give it to them. I'll give it to Walter and Ciampa. That way they both win.
Let's do that.
Yeah. You're both winners. Everything's great. I think those were the two best matches.
We agree on the top matches. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, the worst match on this card was still good. So, much.
What would you think the worst match on the card was?
I didn't want to call anyone out. Probably Gargano, Reed. Yeah, just because I'm so bored of and that again, I just want to see him wrestle other people, and I know he's going to end up going to the main roster and sitting in catering with Ricochet. I understand that's what will happen, but
that's just why we need everything to open up again. We need NXT Japan to get going, and then you can move these guys around on like a constant circuit, so we never get bored of that stuff.
I don't know if you saw Andrade the other day. One of the execs over at WWE was talking about wanting to reach out to the Latino market more and push into the Latino market by hiring new Mexican talent. And Andrade tweeted out at that saying, great, more amazing wrestlers who can just go and sit in catering. And I was like, oh, damn, that's harsh, but he's not wrong either, is he?
A lot of the time they get on the main roster and they just, the main roster is so hopeless for a number of reasons, especially when it comes to like the mid and lower card. They just don't know what they're doing. They've got no planning.
What happened to Keith?
Yeah. Well, if you're not in the main event, if you're not fighting for the title, they don't care. They've got nothing for you. There's nothing going on. They're making it up on the night. There's no long-term planning.
I would say on Raw, on SmackDown, there's some genuinely great stuff happening. and I say great stuff, I'm excited for a Nigerian drum match between Big E and Apollo Crews. I'm invested. I'm ready for it. Cesaro and Seth Rollins. That's cool. SmackDown seems to have a lot more going on, a bit like Days of Old, but still. Both shows could be better, but isn't that always the way?
Well, we'll get to all of that.
Indeed, we shall. WrestleMania is tomorrow. Are you excited? Is it tomorrow? It is tomorrow. Are you excited?
It's kind of like it's kind of not tomorrow for us, but it's
It almost is. It's 5 to midnight right now.
yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited most of all. I was really happy that NXT had an atmosphere.
Yes.
I could hear chants. I could see the crowd. Like that filled me with hope. And then WrestleMania's next, and they're gonna have a big crowd. They're in a stadium. That excites me more than anything. And I hope that they go as hard as NXT went in terms of like creating a set and a vibe. So disappointed with the WrestleMania 2 years ago, where it's like, what's the set gonna be like? Oh, it's a big screen.
I will say now, I saw WrestleMania trending today, and I was like, that's cool. It's trending 2 days earlier. What are people talking about? Clicked on it. Saw a photo I didn't want to see, didn't I? I ain't saying nothing. I've seen some stuff.
Don't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything.
But it ain't 2 years ago. I know which WrestleMania you weren't happy with. It's definitely not that.
Yeah.
So that's
So
good.
I'm just excited for that. I'm excited for wrestling with fans again, and the stadium and the outdoors. Like I love all that. And am I going to stay up to watch it? I don't know. I'll see how I feel tomorrow.
I think I'm definitely going to start it tomorrow. Because I want to see all of that. I want to see the big crowd. I'm really excited for. I do feel like I'm gonna get to a point in the evening where I'm like, I'm done now. Novelty's worn off. I'm gonna go to bed. Finish this in the morning because it's hard.
As you get older, it only gets harder.
Yeah, I don't have the stamina of Dan Reed from Eve, who stays up all hours of the night. He's just messaged to say he doesn't agree on SmackDown, which I assume he's talking to me and he thinks it's a trash fire. I assume that's what he's saying. But that man doesn't sleep. He's doing live streams as well, so make sure you catch those. Getting to catch up on old Eve matches. It's a really good time. You can chat away with Dan. He's there. People are there. It's all fun. There's your little plug. We are back on Sunday for night 1 of WrestleMania because we cannot do both nights on one. It would take us about the length of WrestleMania to cover all of it. So, I think night 1, Sunday, night 2, Monday. We'll see what condition we're in as the nights progress. Because the second one I definitely have to watch live because I have day jobs to go to. So that'll be interesting. Oh, he just said SmackDown is better than Raw and NXT. I'll give it that. That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying is that it's better. But that's a low bar on NXT. Raw. Compared to Raw.
Not even close to being better than NXT.
It's very this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to go because it's getting late.
It's another chat. That's another chat for another time, I suppose.
It is. Actually, we'll go into it. We'll go into my feelings because I think it reflects Takeover compared to WrestleMania. One is a night of wrestling and intense wrestling action. The other is spectacle. That's what I'm there for. I'm not watching WrestleMania because I'm expecting 5-star matches. I watch it because I'm expecting spectacle and big moments. That's what I'm looking forward to. Tomorrow night on the WWE Network, I'm not shilling the event because if you're watching this, you're definitely watching WrestleMania, is my assumption.
All right.
Lovely stuff. Guys, we will see you on Sunday. Enjoy WrestleMania. Catch us on socials. They're there in the corner. They have been the whole show. I'm Dale. He's Dan. We're gone. Bye.